the Trivia Podcast where I ask you questions about stuff you might not even know, but you just might if you watch TV shows and movies. Hello and welcome to the TV and Movie Trivia Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Sheehan, and in this episode, I'll be asking questions from The Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies, the end of our Lord of the Rings Hobbit trivia. Our guests today are Ashley and Abby from the Sisters of the Shire podcast. Guys, thank you for being here.
Hello, we're so happy to be here. I'm very excited.
Hello.
I'm Abby.
And I'm Ashley.
And I'm excited to have you guys on the podcast here. Again, you guys have a cool Lord of the Rings podcast of your own, where the episodes I listened to weren't as much about, I guess, the movies as much as you guys are going into kind of like history, backstory, things like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Ashley came to me like months ago and said, I'm reading the Silmarillion, which is the story before, it's about how everything started basically in the Tolkien universe of everything you've seen of The Hobbit, of Lord of the Rings, anything like that. This is the very, very beginning of those stories. And she's like, I want to read it and I want to explain things to you on a podcast. And I'm like, okay, because sometimes Tolkien can be a little heavy, a little dense and hard to get through. And so we decided to come together and over something we love so much, which is the works of Tolkien, and kind of give it to you in these episodes that are a little bit more digestible, a little bit more fun, kind of bringing more lighthearted, like, let's really understand this, but also have fun understanding it. And so we're just kind of going through the history. We're in the Silmarillion right now. And then we were just talking today about how we want to go through the movies and kind of pick out certain scenes that some people might be a little confused about, of like, hey, why is, this happening? Or what's the history about this? So we're just kind of like a all around love of Tolkien podcast. But right now we're going through the Silmarillion. Ashley is teaching me.
Doing my best.
I've heard that book mentioned in with previous guests as well. Again, it's not something that I was even super aware of before looking into Lord of the Rings more here. And
it's only mentioned in hushed tones. The Silmarillion.
Secret stuff. But again, I really appreciate the way you guys are doing it here. I haven't read a book in a long time, but I will listen to almost anything. Just getting into audiobooks now, listened to the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit books before watching the movies again, and that was a lot of fun. Definitely made me appreciate the movies more. So the way you guys are doing it with your audio format and also, breaking it down into chunks, for an average person like me, I would find that like so much easier to relate to digest than reading a book.
Yes, and love J.R. Tolkien, love him to death, but this book is very hard to get through for some people. So we just tried to, make it more fun and accessible that people can appreciate it and be like, oh, this is, something I will love too, but I don't have to sit and fall asleep while reading it.
Now, Abby, you're not the one reading it, right? It's Ashley?
Ashley is reading it, and then she gives me kind of like a synopsis storyline of what's going on. So I am not physically reading it myself, but maybe in the future, now that I kind of get the gist of what's going on, that maybe I can delve into it myself in the future sometime.
Ashley, how's the reading going?
This is my second time going around. I mentioned on the podcast, this is, I was reading it to my daughter to fall asleep because she wanted me in the room with her, but I didn't want to keep her awake with like a story that she would actually like. So
you figured you'd bore her to sleep.
It works. Hey, it works.
It totally worked.
That's amazing. Personally, I've been listening to audiobooks as I go to sleep as well. And, I usually listen to all my podcasts at a slightly increased speed. I don't feel like it changes the cadence too much.
Oh, I'm a 1.25er, if that helps you.
Yeah, I'm a 1.3er.
Oh, nice. My dad's like a 2, and I don't know how he does it.
No, that's borderline impossible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. But he's also listening to it while doing like 2 other things, which I don't even know how that works.
Right. But when I sleep, I put it to 1, or maybe I even lessen it a little just to make it go even slower. And tell you what, it does the trick. I love it, even if it is stuff I'm interested in. Does boring your daughter to sleep work?
Yeah, it totally worked. Luckily, she doesn't do it anymore, which is kind of good and kind of bad. Now I have to like set aside time to read it for myself. But sure. I listen to audiobooks and podcasts to fall asleep all the time. I like would have like 3 separate books that I would like just shuffle between just going to sleep. I love and have grown up listening to books my whole life.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we get started with trivia, do you guys have a favorite Lord of the Rings universe moment, movies or books, or what you're going through now?
I've been recently re-watching all of the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings movies.
Cool.
And just for fun, and because I have children at home, I only get like 25 minutes like little chunks. So it's been taking me a while.
Wow.
But I was telling Ashley on one of our podcast episodes that I just love kind of like the friendship developments over like the series of movies and books. So like in The Hobbit, when Bilbo becomes closer friends with Thorin, or in Lord of the Rings when Legolas becomes closer friends with Gimli, stuff like that. That just is like any scene that happens where they show that kindred, like, you know, friendship and appreciation and respect towards another person is like, yes, I love that so much. And recently it was in the Lord of the Rings when they're going through and they're almost to Lothlorien, and is it Haldir, the elf, almost like they were gonna shoot Gimli, and Legolas is like, don't you do that to my dwarf. Like, that's my dwarf. Like, and he's like, you know, he protects him, and then Gimli's like, oh, he was protecting me. I'm like, yes, I love that. I love friendship.
All right. Very cool. You know, I, again, did appreciate seeing that in the movies, but did feel like they mentioned it a lot more in the books than we saw in the movies anyway. I did feel like they were like super close in the books, how tight they were. And I wish we almost would have seen more of that in the movies, but every time we did, it still makes me smile.
Yes, I think Tolkien is one of the best writers of friendship. I think he nails it so well. And I think it's because he had amazing friendships in his life that he was like, I just want people to know these healthy, amazing, wonderful relationships that these characters have together. It's my favorite. I think that's his like top thing about his writing is how he writes relationships and friendships. It's the best.
All right. Ashley, what about you?
Well, my dad was the one who mainly introduced me to all books and things my whole life. And he always really, really stuck in my head the female heroine. My brother makes fun of it now because, another movie about, the strong, female heroine. Like, but Tolkien writes them so well, with Arwen sticking up for herself and Éowyn. Éowyn was my girl. And
sure.
Galadriel,
thank you. And in the books, they do it, of course, more. But in the movies, I feel like you get just a touch of it, of just these strong women that just fight for themselves. And of course, I also loved the Hobbit friendships, and that moment of Sam carrying Frodo up the hill gets me every time.
I know.
Like, how many times can you cry in that movie? How many times?
I can't wear the ring, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you.
Oh, gosh.
Don't get us started.
All right, we'll save the crying for the end here. Well, before we get started with trivia, to my current listeners out there, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you rate and subscribe and get some friends to do the same. You can also send in your own trivia, email the show, and sign up for my Patreon to get 4 sweet bonus episodes a month, and also get ready for 2 weeks of Christmas movie trivia coming up soon. But more on that after this trivia. Abby and Ashley, are you ready to go?
Okay, let's do this. I think I'm ready.
Game face on. Game face on, Abby. Game face. Game face.
Let's do this.
All right, well, we're going to start with a couple easy questions first here.
Hopefully they are easy, but okay.
Starting with round 1, question number 1. Once they retake the mountain, Thorin says no one will rest until what is found? Question number 2. The master of Lake Town is carrying too much gold on his escape boat, so what does he dump? Question number 3. While preparing for battle, what does Thorin give Bilbo to wear? Question number 4. Saruman thinks that Sauron is not the biggest threat yet because he still needs what? Question number 5. What animal does the Elf King ride? Question number 6. Who does Radagast come in with towards the end of the major battle? Question number 7. Why is the Shire auctioning off Bilbo's stuff? And question number 8. Before parting at the borders of the Shire, what does Gandalf tell Bilbo should not be used lightly? All right, going back to question number 1. Once they retake the mountain, Thorin says no one will rest until what is found?
The King's Jewel.
The
Arkenstone.
Absolutely correct. The Arkenstone. Moving on to question number 2 here. The master of Lake Town is carrying too much gold on his escape boat, so what does he dump?
Okay.
It's minion. Alfred Lickspittle.
Alfred. I was like, it's Arthur? No, Alfred with the horrible teeth.
Did they say his last name?
Lickspittle.
Yeah, the lady does. Don't make me laugh.
You're a coward.
You're not a man, you're a weasel.
I just love that Tolkien gives these characters the worst names ever, like Grima Wormtongue. It's like
100%.
Try and make yourself good out of that.
It's like, did no one see that coming? If that man's name is Grima Wormtongue, like really?
He grew up to be the head of the policemen. He was always on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, he was a stand-up citizen.
You were 100% right there. First off, it is Alfred. But again, I mentioned this with someone I did just record with, referring to Wormtongue and, did these characters ever stand a chance? I feel like I noticed this a lot in the Harry Potter books as well, with Remus Lupin and, his name basically meant just a wolf, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's like, I wonder what he is.
I mean, and he was born with that name, it's like he didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Also, referring to the master of Lake Town there, I do love that actor. That was Stephen Fry, right?
Yes. Apparently they gave him like a ton of leeway and he just said, just go for it. And he went for it, man.
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing him and stuff. I most notably recognize him from V for Vendetta. But I love seeing Stephen Fry and stuff.
Yes. If you have... Oh, sorry. We'll keep going. I can go off on a tangent on Stephen Fry.
It's so easy to go off on tangents on this stuff. Question number 3. While preparing for battle, what does Thorin give Bilbo to wear?
A mithril undershirt, which is there a certain name for that in armor?
No one's ever called it a mithril undershirt before.
I know. Is there a certain name for an undershirt in armor? A chainmail shirt?
Long underwear.
It's usually referred to as a mithril coat I have.
But why a coat?
It's not a coat, it's a shirt.
Petticoats are under.
A mithril petticoat. There you go.
I couldn't tell you. Oh, but I do like undershirt a lot. Question number 4. Saruman thinks that Sauron is not the biggest threat yet because he still needs what?
The one.
The ring, right?
He needs the one ring.
The Ring of Power is correct. Can I just need to clarify something with you guys here. Do we know yet if they're working together?
Okay, my husband had that same question when we were rewatching it. He's like, when does Saruman go over to Sauron's side? Like, do we ever see that happening? And I was like, well, in this instance, he kind of, I don't know, he kind of was like scared of him. But then I feel like he had some point in time where he's like, yeah, this guy has a better platform of like, I'm going to go with this guy. But you don't ever see it. I feel like you don't ever see it. And I don't know when it happens.
I personally think it's right there.
Me too. Like, I think he's like, oh, like this guy's pretty powerful.
Honestly, I mean, other than him just like covering it up, like he doesn't say anything about like, hey, this Gundabad place is a bad place. Don't go there. He's just like, there's nothing there. I don't know what you're talking about.
Or he's like, you guys go somewhere else. Leave him to me.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, it does seem a lot of Saruman kind of almost deflecting attention away from Sauron, which makes me suspicious. But, you know, I can't say for certain whether it's there yet.
It's a slow burn, a slow turn to evil here.
Sure.
Our friend Albert refers to it as the lost pages. It's written somewhere in those lost pages, and we'll never know.
Sure. Question number 5. What animal does the Elf King ride?
Sorry, I couldn't help but giggle at that.
Is it an elk or is it a fancier name than an elk? Because it's a giant elk, and I don't know if they have different names for it.
It is a big guy. I also just had written down elk/moose thing.
Okay, but what's funny is I actually looked that up because I was curious about that too. Okay, so it is supposed to portray an elk.
Okay.
But to do the scene, it was a horse named Moose. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, what are the odds, right?
A horse named Moose playing an elk?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, boy. That's great.
And all answers are correct.
Yeah. Because it looks kind of prehistoric. It looks like a super fauna.
Sure.
Which moose are technically the last super fauna, but it looks like a cross between a moose and an elk because an elk doesn't have that like flat antlers. I don't know.
Sure.
It's cool. I want one. I'd ride it.
So majestic.
Question number 6 for maybe 2 points here. Who does Radagast come in with towards the end of the major battle?
I was going to say, there's 2 answers to that.
I know there is 2 answers. I'll give one answer and Ashley, you give the other. So Ashley, you go first.
Technically, he's riding on an eagle. So he's coming in with the eagles.
The eagles was one I was looking for.
Okay. Because he comes with Beorn. That's who I was thinking you were talking about.
That's who I was thinking of.
Yes.
The Eagles and Beorn. Did I hear in your guys' podcast that one of you guys is a big fan?
Of?
Beorn?
Abby.
Yes. I want a whole story written by somehow the ghost of Tolkien to come back and give me a story of all the shapeshifters.
Skin changers.
Skin changers.
That would be a very interesting history. I would also be curious to hear about that.
Because Beorn says, there were many of us. And I'm like, were they all bears? Did they change into different things?
Sure.
I want to know.
Sure. Next question here. Question number 7. Why is the Shire auctioning off Bilbo's stuff?
Because he's been gone more than 13 months.
Is it 13 months?
It is 13 months.
Ha! You had me doubting myself, Abby.
And just to go off that, what does that mean the Hobbit folk have assumed?
He's presumed dead.
He be dead.
They thought he had died.
Although I heard somewhere that there was a tradition that they used to like run away to get married or something. It's like an unwritten thing that like he maybe wrote in a letter to someone. It's not like confirmed in a book or anything. But apparently there was like this obscure Hobbit tradition that to get married, you would like just run away and then like get married, have your like settle down and then like come back to your town like years later. So like that was another like thing they thought possibly. Oh. And then they also thought that of the hobbits that left on the fellowship thing.
Interesting.
But then there was also a fandom of like, did they marry each other or what girls did they find?
Okay, I was going to say one thing before we move on about all of them. The Hobbit's taking all his stuff when he comes home. I don't know why. That gives me the biggest anxiety attack that he comes home and everybody has taken all his stuff and he comes home to an empty house and he doesn't do anything about it. He's just standing in his house, just reminiscing. I'm like, go get your stuff. People have your stuff. Like, do you know how long that's going to take to go to each person and be like, and what part of my house do you have at your house now? Like, it gives me such an anxiety attack. I don't know why. He's like just walking past people who are taking his things like, hey, what are you guys doing? I'm like, no, take your stuff back.
I totally understand that. But also, I mean, he is coming back much richer.
True.
He can buy new stuff.
And he just learned the life lesson that material things are not important and that friendship is the best. It's the friendship you gain along the way.
He doesn't have any friends in the Shire except for old Worrywart.
I know.
Well, if worse came to worse and he wanted to get that stuff back, question number 8. Before parting at the borders of the Shire, what does Gandalf tell Bilbo should not be used lightly?
Oh, that would be a fun, interesting side story.
He just says magical rings.
Yes.
Magic rings is correct.
Because he doesn't know which ring he has, right?
Right.
Yes, but I guess worst comes to worst, he goes invisible, takes his stuff back.
I would love that side quest.
I am a burglar. I will burgle my things back.
Full circle.
Yes.
I love it. Someone write that, please.
Well, at the end of round 1, you guys are 9 for 8 right now.
Woo!
Woohoo!
I have 7 medium questions next year. Starting with question number 9. What does the one dwarf give to his elf crush, Tauriel? Question number 10. Who rescues Gandalf from his imprisonment, and who did they bring for backup? Question number 11. Once the dwarves see the survivors of Lake Town heading their way towards the mountain, what do they do? Question number 12. Why does Bilbo say the Arkenstone is his to give away? Question number 13. Before dying, Thorin tells Bilbo to go back to his what? Question number 14. Legolas tells his father that he can't go back, and his father tells him to search for who? And question number 15. The movie ends with Bilbo greeting who at the door for what number birthday? Going back to question number 9. What does the one dwarf give to his elf crush, Tauriel?
A token.
A rune stone? A stone with runes on it? But I don't remember what it says. Do you remember what it's supposed to say?
Oh boy. Well, first off, his runestone is correct. I feel like I might have had this written down in a previous area for trivia in one of the previous episodes, but I have since forgotten.
I don't remember it, but I can tell you that the rune language was actually invented by elves first, and the elves didn't like it, and the dwarves were like, hey, we like it, we'll use it.
They got a leftover language, hand-me-downs.
Yes, they did.
They invented a language that they disliked. Feels like I wouldn't bother inventing it then.
Yeah.
There's just one guy, like, here, I have an idea, you guys. What do you think of this? Meh.
Yeah.
Let's run through with it and then see how we feel.
I know. They're like, this one's ugly. Like, you can have this one.
Oh, man. Question number 10. Who rescues Gandalf from his imprisonment, and who did they bring for backup?
Our queen.
Galadriel. And then they have the Power Ranger entrance. Have you seen that meme?
Yes.
I love it so much.
I have not.
So it's I don't remember the scene exactly, but it's them kind of like going to attack the ring wraith things, the wraiths.
Nazgul.
The Nazgul, thank you. And they just kind of photoshopped Power Rangers in like the same stances. And it doesn't look that out of place, not gonna lie. Like, it feels pretty natural.
I need to see this.
I will find it somewhere.
Well, speaking of, who are those other people she brought as backup?
So they're technically called the White Council.
Ooh.
Which is Saruman and Elrond, which I'm also really excited through the new show that's coming out. I hope they show it. Elrond's turn to being this like super cool like fighter.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited to see that transition of like this kind of book smart, kind of more quiet, humble Elrond to like this awesome kick butt, cool, fighter warrior guy.
Go from the academic to the jock.
Mm-hmm. And then Radagast came as well.
Radagast does too, yeah.
All right. Giving you guys 2 points for that.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! I was curious if we're like going into conspiracy here, like how much did he know? So technically all 3 elven rings are there at that moment. But does Saruman know about the other rings? I was curious how much, because they always tried to keep him quiet.
Wait, so where are the 3 elven rings? Galadriel, Elrond,
and Gandalf. That's why they took him captive.
Gandalf has an elven ring?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He has the Ring of Fire.
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, it's in the extended scene. Didn't you see that? Like, he wants something that you have, and he like throws him on the thing, and that's right before Galadriel saves him.
Did you guys watch the extended version?
You didn't?
I didn't get to watch the extended version because it's not for free on Prime.
You should have told me, Abby.
I know, but I've seen the extended version. But I own it. I was just too lazy to put it in my DVD player.
That's the way of the first world problems that we have.
Another cool thing that I hope to learn someday, I was just telling Ashley about this, is how Galadriel becomes so powerful. That's what I want to learn.
Yeah, very. I'm really excited that they chose her and to go into her backstory more. That's a really cool character to pick.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Question number 11. Once the dwarves see the survivors of Lake Town heading their way towards the mountain, what do?
They break the bridge, which I don't know what kind of physics masters they are, how that would work, how they knew it would work. Because they knocked something over that was like to the far left, and then it knocked over something on the far right through some kind of physics magic.
They're dwarf magic. So I feel like most of the dwarves didn't want to do that, right? Am I reading the room here?
That's what I felt as well.
And then Thorin was like, no, we're not taking them in.
Yeah, he's kind of losing it at this point.
And so I feel like they didn't want to, but they had to because they were following their king, which I get it, but also like, no, they didn't want to do that. They were trying to be nice.
Maybe that's why it was so far to the left. And they're like, oh, it actually did work. Oh, man.
We were trying to sabotage it.
But you guys are correct there. They broke the bridge and they started barricading the entrance as well. Stacked up a whole lot of rocks there to make sure nobody could get in.
I wondered how they did that.
They stacked them so fast.
So fast.
Question number 12. Why does Bilbo say the Arkenstone is his to give away?
It doesn't make any sense, but it's my 14th share.
It's his 14th share of the treasure is correct.
He signed a contract. It's legally binding.
But who's to say it's a 14th share?
I mean, that is true. I mean, I feel like it should be worth that much, but to the way how the dwarves feel about it, it is by far maybe worth what I think everything there.
Everything.
To Thorin, yes.
To Thorin especially, yeah. Very interesting.
I mean, it is real pretty.
It is very pretty. Question number 13 here for a couple points. Before dying, Thorin tells Bilbo to go back to his what?
His armchair, which he doesn't have anymore. Go back to your books. Go back to your armchair. Oh, wait, they're gone.
He does say books and armchair, giving you 2 points for that. Do you know what else he says after that?
Plant your trees.
Plant your trees.
Watch them grow.
Holy smokes, giving you 3 points for that. Well done.
Woo!
I have to say, I love that scene. That's why I remembered it so much, because my friends and I were talking about something random the other day, and then we were talking about what was the last movie that you cried at, and they were talking about like these super, like something like The Notebook or something. I don't think they said that, but
of course, A Walk to Remember.
And I was like, I watched The Hobbit and I cried when Thorin died.
Sure.
And they're like, what? They're like, who?
Instead of a romance, it was a bromance.
He just finally realized what life was all about, and he died.
You know what? I have a similar silly answer, but it's always The Dark Knight Rises when Batman's flying off into the sunset to get rid of the bomb, and you think that the autopilot is disabled, and you think he's going to his death. I tear up at that part every time.
That was my friend's answer. That exact same scene.
That's hilarious.
That's awesome.
I was thinking about The Hobbit, and I was like, I want to cry, but I'm not quite there. And then freaking Billy Boyd starts singing, and then I want to cry. That song gets me every time.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I have questions about this next one here. Question number 14. Legolas tells his father that he can't go back to the Elf Kingdom, and his father tells him to search for who?
Oh, in the wild, he's called Strider.
Strider is correct. And of course, I have to ask, does this make sense chronologically?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, done deal.
Okay, so they said there's a young ranger, which I'm like, he's old. He wouldn't be too young, right?
Actually, I mean, I didn't look it up in the books or anything, but according to my Googling in this random web thing that I read it on, he was 10 years old at the time.
Sure. I mean, the first Hobbit movie says it takes place, I believe, 60 years before Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That's another thing I want to dive into on our podcast, Ashley, is when Thranduil's like, go find the Dunedain. How does he know about that? And how does he know about Strider and his dad and all that stuff?
Because he's a shut-in?
Or if it's just adding to the movie. I don't know. I'm
sure they wanted it to be a cool Easter egg. Here's something from Lord of the Rings, but when you think about it, doesn't quite add up.
Yeah. Apparently, I if I remember my that random Google thing that I found, he was still what's the word? Adoptee.
Aragorn was adopted?
Foster child is the word I was looking for. He was a foster child in Rivendell, yes.
Wow, very cool. And to end the medium round with another 2-point question here, question number 15. The movie ends with Bilbo greeting who at the door for what number birthday?
Do it, Abby. Do it. Do it. I want you to do it.
My 100th birthday.
What?
We could never repeat it. I don't know how he did that. And he's greeting Gandalf, his very old friend.
I love that they did that. They kind of morphed it into Lord of the Rings. I think that's really cool. I love that.
I agree.
Well, to end round 2, you guys are 20 for 15 right now.
Whoa!
Woo!
I have 5 hard questions left, starting with question number 16. One dwarf calls Thorin's look and jealous need what? Question number 17. The dwarves in the mountain join the battle after what knocks down the barricade at the front? Question number 18. What giant creatures come out of the hills to make paths for the orcs? Question number 19. A two-parter. Part 1 here. Thorin and some dwarves are battling orcs on top of a big hill. How does Legolas get to them from the ground so quickly? And part 2 of that. When Legolas sees Tauriel in trouble battling an orc on top of a nearby hill, how does he cross the gap to get to her? And question number 20, another two-parter. Part 1, What does Bilbo give the auctioneer as an official thing to prove his identity? And part 2, Bilbo stops Lobelia Saxville Baggins from leaving his house auction with his what? Going back to question number 16. One dwarf calls Thorin's look and jealous need what?
Dragon sickness.
Dragon sickness is correct.
Haha. Okay. Because, yeah, the wording of the question was kind of funny, but if you, like, finish the quote.
I know. I was like, what?
Sure. Yeah, I recognize that might not have been worded well.
No, I got you. I got it.
Question number 17. The dwarves in the mountain join the battle after what knocks down the barricade at the front?
It's like a bell.
It's a bell, right? Is it a bell or is it like...
I had a bell.
Okay.
Because it made it even more epic.
Speaking of it being epic, it does this whole then like slow-mo scene of the dwarves coming out into battle. Like 10 dwarves are going to make a difference here.
I know. That's what my husband said when we were watching it. He's like, this scene is so epic for like 3 people.
Okay, but my thing was like, there's no way they can outrun the backswing of it. There's no way.
Maybe that's what pushes them into the battle. They just jump and it catches them and it flings them into the battle.
Interesting. Well, again, I did just record this in some Lord of the Rings trivia. Gimli says that dwarves are natural sprinters, not built for cross-country running, is what Gimli says.
Yes, that's what their plan all along.
Question number 18 for 2 points. What giant creatures come out of the hills to make paths for the orcs?
I want to do some research on these things. They're wereworms.
Wereworms is correct. They also went by another name.
Earth eaters or something.
Earth eaters is correct. Good for another 2 points.
Tremors,
yeah, pretty much. Nightmares. Nightmare fuel.
Tell you what, I do love wereworms, though. Of course, I'm picturing a worm that when the moon comes out, turns into that now.
Right. Why were? Yeah.
You can't put were in a mythological creature without thinking of a transformation.
Right.
Maybe they do. Maybe they are men that turn into wereworms.
Not again.
You've been bitten by a worm.
For another 2 points, question number 19, just talking about how cool Legolas is. Part 1 here. Thorin and some dwarves are battling orcs on top of a big hill. How does Legolas get to them from the ground so quickly?
So I forget what they're called. They're like bat things, but there's another name for them. Crabine?
I'm just taking bat.
Okay, bat thing.
Giant scary bat.
Werebats.
Werebats.
He grabs a bat and rides it up is correct. And for part 2 of that, when Legolas sees Tauriel in trouble battling an orc on top of a nearby hill, how does he cross the gap to get to her so quickly?
I was worried you were going to ask me what these things were called because I have no idea. But I always felt so bad for them. They have their eyes poked out and they can't see anything. And somehow they look scary but pitiful at the same time.
I agree. I hate looking at them.
He gets on one of those, those creepy, pitiful things.
They're like giants or like trolls, but they can't be trolls because they're in the sun.
Right. So he does that and he knocks over the tower and then he crosses the tower and then he fights.
Okay, but what are they? Because they're not trolls.
I don't know what they are. What are the big other things that are creepy?
That they usually use in battles to like throw big rocks?
Yeah.
That they like sliced off 10 of the heads of. That might have been in the extended version though. That's why it's rated R.
I had rams a troll into that tower to make a bridge.
Yes.
Again, I don't know if troll is a correct verbiage there, but again, just 2 things of Legolas being so cool.
So cool.
A were-troll.
A were-troll. Yes. Thank you, Abby. Connect those dots.
But that one was like the saddest troll thing because first it had like no eyes and it had like chains, like reins to like control it. But then for some reason they're like, you know what this guy also doesn't need? His limbs. So let's just give him
hands,
peg arms and legs.
Man, I did not notice the eye thing, but yikes.
Yeah, I don't know. But it somehow makes them look pitiful. I don't know how that is, but...
It's like, I don't want to look at them, but I feel bad for them. But I also don't want to look at them because you're like, ooh.
Well, then, ending Hobbit trivia here on a slightly lighter note, then, with question number 20.
You don't want to feel sad for the weretrolls?
With question number 20, another two-parter. Part 1, what does Bilbo give the auctioneer as an official thing to prove his identity?
His contract.
His contract, which I think all contracts should look like that.
With the side-off thingies, the fold-off things.
Yeah, and it's all bound with leather. My house contract when I bought a house did not look like that. I feel cheated.
I want to know how it survived through everything. The barrel writing. I call BS right there. He forgot his handkerchief. He sure as heck would have lost that.
And one more very cool callback, part 2 here. Bilbo stops Lobelia Saxville Baggins from leaving his house auction with his what?
His spoons. He had them all in her pocket, but they weren't in her pocket in that scene.
His spoons is correct, which I believe is a callback to the very first Lord of the Rings movie when he's reminiscing with Frodo about her walking off with his spoons, right?
Yes.
All of them jammed in her pocket.
How are they related?
I think they're second cousins.
So it's like Frodo's aunt or something?
I know they're not close, and that's all I can tell you.
Yes.
Sackville Baggins is.
But you guys are ending trivia with a score of 28 out of 20. Congratulations.
Wow! We did it!
Well, before we get started with this bonus episode, would you guys like to plug your stuff?
Abby, you're going to have to do it.
Okay.
Love you.
Yes. We are the Sisters of the Shire podcast, and we are available on all platforms wherever you find your wonderful podcasts. And we are cousins who are going through the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. And right now we are reading the Silmarillion. Ashley is reading it and is teaching me, Abby, in bite-sized little nuggets of information about the Silmarillion chapter by chapter. And, we try to make it fun. We try to make it funny. We try to make it easy to understand so that any age, any reading level, stuff like that can fall in love with the works of J.R.R. Tolkien and be able to understand it and just really get into the story and be able to understand things like the new Rings of Power show or the Lord of the Rings novels or movies or the Hobbit movies and just really enjoying it. And we hope that you guys can join us, and we would love for you guys to listen, and we are on Instagram, and we love any interaction. So if you guys would want to talk to us on there, ask us any questions. We also love any fan art of anything Tolkien based. So if you guys are artists and love things like that, we love sharing your art on our Instagram page, and we're just sharing the love of the works of Tolkien. And we have an episode every Tuesday, or we like to call it Tolkien Tuesday. So if you guys subscribe, we come out every Tuesday, and we are the Sisters of the Shire podcast.
And again, links to everything that they do are in the show notes, so be sure to check out all of Ashley and Abby's stuff out there. We are about to record a bonus episode, so if you'd like to check that out, you can listen to all the bonus episodes on Patreon for just $2 a month. Head on over to iTunes to drop a rating and tell someone you know about the show. It would really mean a lot. Lastly, if you have questions of your own or answers to any of mine, feel free to email me at tvtriviapod@gmail.com or reach out on any of the socials at tvtriviapod. And again, as this ends our Lord of the Rings Hobbit-themed trivia, get ready for 2 weeks of Christmas movie trivia coming up soon. Ashley and Abby, thank you guys again so much for being here. It was a blast recording trivia with you.
Thank you so much for having us on here. I would love to do this again anytime.
Yes, we are multi-fandom.
Just know that I'm a huge Marvel person and Star Wars.
And Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. And Zelda.
Man, I just wrapped up Marvel.
Oh.
And I did Harry Potter right before that.
Star Wars?
Star Wars is still open.
I have not done Star Wars yet, and I'm hoping
Tap.
Yes. Tapping that one.
Or Disney. Oh man, we would kill at Disney.
Yes.
Oh man, well, we do have one more bonus episode to get through here, so we will kind of have the second round of this coming up right now.
Okay.
But again, listeners, thank you, and stay tuned for more trivia. It's the Trivia Podcast where I ask you questions about stuff you might not even know, but you just might if you watch TV shows and movies. Bonus episode! Continuing with questions from The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, with Ashley and Abby from the Sisters of the Shire podcast. Guys, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. We're so excited.
So excited.
Listen, I'm excited to have you and talk more about these were creatures that are inevitably going to come up during this recording here. And I have to say one more thing about your podcast that I find so cool is, you know, if I can't listen to a book, the next best thing would be to have someone explain it to me.
Yes.
So again, that's honestly something I've been enjoying with this run of trivia questions. All the questions that I've been able to ask my much more knowledgeable guests, and therefore have them explain it to me.
Oh, shucks.
Is just means a lot to me, and really answers a lot of the things I'm curious about, but not willing to go out of my way to look for.
That's what we're going for. That's exactly.
We will be the nerd researchers for you.
And we're into so many different fandoms that we're like, you know what? It's kind of like Darth Vader, but also a little bit like Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
yes.
We're just trying to meet people at all levels.
That is perfect.
It's also way fun to explain it this way that makes it more exciting and more
when you can discuss it.
Yeah, you can discuss it, and you can kind of bring it to, like, if someone isn't fully, you know, into Tolkien lore or things like that, and be like, well, you know, if you like this, then this is kind of like, you know, the same storyline, or this is kind of like the characters that you kind of are drawn to, stuff like that. It's way fun to be able to share the passion in a fun way.
Sure. And now with so much stuff with the Rings of Power, House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, I mean, it all feels closely in the same realm of fantasy.
Oh, give me all that high fantasy. Give me all the swords. Give me all those cloaks. Give me all those magic things. Dragons.
And cloaks. Oh, boy.
Give me those wizard staffs. Need them all.
Don't get her started on armor.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. Well, with that, are you guys ready to start round 2 of trivia here?
Yes.
Let me get my game face on. Okay.
Gotta crack my knuckles here.
I know, yeah.
I have 2 rounds of questions here for you. The first one being all medium questions, and the second round being all hard questions.
Okay.
Starting with round 1, question number 1. Bilbo runs out on the dwarves to give the leaders of the armies outside what? Question number 2. In the beginning, the master of Lake Town says the town is lost and to save the what? Question number 3. Before leaving the Wood Elf Kingdom in the second movie, how does the king punish Tauriel? Question number 4. While Alfred, the old master's servant, was on night watch, who appeared in Dale? Question number 5. What does Thorin try to do to Bilbo once he finds out Bilbo gave away the Arkenstone? Question number 6. What does the leader of the big dwarf army ride? Question number 7. How does Alfred disguise himself so he doesn't have to fight? And question number 8. What does the bard use to steady the black arrow when his bow breaks? All right, going back to question number 1. Bilbo runs out on the dwarves to give the leaders of the armies outside what?
The Arkenstone.
His share of the treasure.
The king's ransom.
The Arkenstone is correct. It's got to be quite a bold, courageous move, I guess. When he just went through this perilous journey to get a 14th of the treasure, and then he gave it away.
Mm-hmm.
Almost immediately.
Doesn't Thorin say something like that, or something that like, or is it Thranduil or something that like, or is it Gandalf? I don't remember. Says that Bilbo is not affected by the seeing the gold, seeing the treasure, seeing, all this stuff.
It's Gandalf, and he's like, apparently not all, though, is what he says.
Yeah.
I don't remember Thranduil being Thranduil. Oh, man.
Thranduil.
Thranduil.
You gotta roll your R's. Get with it.
Well, I don't remember him being so compliment-givey.
Oh, I found my favorite Thranduil scene. It's like a millisecond is when Gandalf comes in and he's like, there's an army coming. And Thranduil looks at, what's the guy's name?
Bard.
The Bard?
Bard. And he's like, oof, get a load of this guy. He looks at him from the side. It makes me laugh. It's like a millisecond of him looking at him like, okay, crazy old man.
Question number 2. In the beginning, the master of Lake Town says the town is lost and to save the what?
The gold. The money?
The gold is correct, yes. Everybody likes the gold.
Forget the books.
Yeah, I like that part.
Question number 3. Before leaving the Wood Elf Kingdom in the second movie, how does the king punish Tauriel? Banishment. She is banished is correct. And why was that again? Because she chased after the dwarves to help them out?
I think, is it because, I don't know. Is it because he closed off his kingdom and said close the doors, no one's coming in or leaving or whatever?
I think it's because he's recognizing that she's a bad influence on his son.
Or she's making him look bad,
yeah,
hey, quit trying to help people who need help when I chose not to. You're making me look bad.
Sure.
That's pretty much it.
Well, speaking of them, question number 4. While Alfred, the old master's servant, was on night watch, who appeared in Dale?
The entire Thranduil army.
Do they have a name?
The Mirkwood army.
Man, I just had the army of wood elves.
Nice.
Sylvan elves.
Ooh, yeah, I had a question about that. I don't know if I had gotten to that round of trivia yet, but Tauriel says that to Thranduil. Does that mean, a soldier elf?
Sylvan is another group name of the many group names that you find out in the Silmarillion. It's like an offshoot of the Teleri, actually.
It's, I don't want to say tribe, but it's something like that. It's like their own people of elves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like their own family unit.
Yeah, it's a family, but also where you're from, too.
All right. Very cool. Question number 5. What does Thorin try to do to Bilbo once he finds out Bilbo gave away the Arkenstone?
Off with his head! No, he tries to throw him over the thing.
Doesn't he ask them to the other dwarves to do it? Throw them over the ledge. And then they're like, no. And he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. And then they're like, no. And then they steal Bilbo away. And then Bilbo throws himself over the edge by climbing over.
Throw him over the rampart is correct.
Oh, the rampart. That's right.
Question number 6, another one that got a giggle here. What does the leader of the big dwarf army ride?
I just loved that so much.
I know. The cutest little steed.
The cutest little...
Little?
Compared to Thranduil's thing.
Compared to a moose?
Yeah. elk named Moose.
I just love it so much. I just want to know if it had a name. That cute little hog.
So there's got to be a name in between pig and hog that classifies what that is.
Is it a boar or is it just a hog?
Boars have tusks. I can talk.
I had written down a pig/boar, but I don't know if it said for certain. That's just what I put down as the answer.
I feel like it's a cross between that bull thing that's from Scotland that has the thing that covers their eyes.
Oh, those, what are they, yak?
I don't think they're yak. I think they're still cows. But there's that whole Ferdinand movie that has it in there.
Oh, the Highland coo?
Yes. I knew you'd know that.
What was I going to say? Now I really want him to make a joke that he's like, you know how they say motorcycles are like hogs? Like,
oh,
his name is Harley Davidson.
But it has to be like...
That'd be amazing.
Oh, how do you make that dwarvish?
I know.
Okay, we'll think about it. He has to have a biker jacket. He already has the hair. He's good.
Question number 7. How does Alfred disguise himself so he doesn't have to fight?
Not every man is brave enough to wear a corset.
So he dresses like a lady, but where does he find those clothes? And how does he dress so quickly?
I was wondering that too.
Wow, that's a great question. I imagine he raided a house or something.
Yes.
But there's not abandoned when they got there.
I don't know.
I just assumed, I guess, most of the buildings were abandoned between all the fighting and stuff.
And one that fit him as well.
Yeah. Well, fit him? Generous.
And to end round 1 with question number 8, what does the bard use to steady the black arrow when his bow breaks?
This scene, I loved this scene so much. It was his son.
His own child.
His own son's shoulder. Terrifying.
I know.
Yeah.
But what I thought was most impressive, if I can say, is how Bard, the guy, takes his broken bow that he was using and with the strength of his own arms slams that thing into the posts.
Yeah.
Strong enough that he can do. I'm like, whoa, like that's intense. If he could do that, that's pretty cool.
That's true. What is it what is it connected with?
Like he just like takes both sides and just like, yeah. And I'm like, whoa.
Force of will.
It's a pure adrenaline. If you see a dragon in front of you, like, of course, it's like when a mom lifts a car.
All right. Well, you guys are 8 for 8 right now, and I have 7 hard questions next.
Ooh, okay.
All right. Starting with question number 9. What does Gandalf call the dwarf army, and who is its leader? Question number 10. The leader of that army continually attacks orcs in battle. How? Question number 11. Thorin's last words to Bilbo are the world would be a merrier place if more people valued what above what. Question number 12. After banishing the spirit of Sauron, Elrond says where should be warned and a watch should be set where. Question number 13, a two-parter. Part 1, what is Legolas's last name, or at least someone calls him Legolas what? And part 2, who did Legolas say he lost when their people were at war with Angmar? Question number 14, Thranduil.
Roll the R's.
Thranduil.
Perfect.
Says he did not come to help the people of Lake Town, but to reclaim something of his, referring to what?
Oh, we were talking about that.
That one's for maybe 2 points. And for 3 points, question number 15, Galadriel banishes Sauron and calls him what? What 3 things? Going back to question number 9, what does Gandalf call the dwarf army, and who is its leader?
Dane.
Dane is the leader.
Iron something.
Iron something.
Like Iron Hills, like the Iron
He is Lord of the Iron Hills.
Iron Foot.
Iron Foot is correct.
Yes. Thank you. I'm like, it's not head.
It's to ride his Harley Davidson.
Well, speaking of Dane here, question number 10. Dane continually attacks orcs in battle. How?
I know he has a giant hammer.
Yeah. The hammer or his hog?
No. He headbutts them.
I had written down he headbutts everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I'm thinking, who wins in a headbutt? And I don't think it's anybody.
Which I'm like, dang, if you're like killing orcs with a headbutt, that's like intense.
Oh, man. Question number 11 here. Thorin's last words to Bilbo are the world would be a merrier place if more people valued what above what?
Abby.
Okay, so I don't know why this is escaping my brain. It's if they value something over gold.
Home and friendship.
Home above gold is correct.
Oh, we did it. I was nervous. I was like, I don't remember.
I couldn't remember the exact word. I'm like, it's the vibe of that. I'm not sure if that's the exact word.
Home, friendship, something like that.
Yeah, something in there.
Question number 12. After banishing the spirit of Sauron, Elrond says where should be warned and a watch should be set where?
Gondor should be warned and Minas Tirith or the other one?
Not Minas Tirith.
I don't know. Gondor should be warned and a watch should be put in...
Kind of where Sauron's whole operation is.
Mordor.
Mordor is correct.
I was gonna think of the one city that they kept losing, but I couldn't remember that name either.
Oh,
that the brother was in charge of.
Is that the one that started with an O?
Osgiliath?
Osgiliath?
Yes, thank you. Team effort, guys. Thank you.
That one was a hard one.
My cold medicine's really kicking in, so I'm like kind of flying right now. I am sorry, everyone.
She's flying high.
We are almost done. Another two-parter here, question number 13. What is Legolas's last name, or at least someone calls him Legolas what?
Greenleaf.
Greenleaf?
Greenleaf is correct. And part 2 of that, who did Legolas say he lost when their people were at war with Angmar?
His mama.
His mom.
His mother is correct. Yep. Again, they keep on bringing the stuff up that I, again, always love to know the history of.
Yes.
Oh, that's on our list.
That's on our list, is to find out about the Battle of Angmar. Is it Angmar?
Yeah.
Angmar is the Witch King, right?
Yeah, Witch King of Angmar. I wish you knew more about the men.
That became the Ringwraiths?
Yeah, I wish that you knew more about them.
Oh, that would be really cool. Agreed. Agreed.
That's what I thought the Rings of Power show was going to be more about, but I'm still loving the journey. It could still happen.
Sure, I
hey,
mean...
you never know.
Question number 14 here. For another 2 points. Thranduil.
You can do it.
I'm not laughing at you, I promise.
Okay, yep.
Channel your inner elf. You can do this.
Thranduil says he did not come to help the people of Lake Town, but to reclaim something of his, referring to what?
This was another thing that we had a question about, but I cannot remember what it's called.
It's the Jewels of, and I'm going to say it, Lasgarin, I think.
A Jewels of Pure Starlight.
Man, I think I can give you 2 points for that. Someone said, again, I believe Abby, you said white gems of pure starlight, and Ashley, the white gems of Lasgalin.
Lasgalin, I was close, yeah.
That's another thing on our list of like, what are those?
Facts.
Yeah, because he's so interested in them, but then we don't get any closure about that little storyline in the movie.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, all it says is the elves say they took their treasure. The dwarves tell another tale. What other tale?
Yeah.
Tell us.
Tell us.
Spill the tea. What happened?
And to end the bonus episode with another 3-point question here. Galadriel.
Awesome.
banishes Sauron and calls him what 3 things?
Ooh.
You are faceless, nameless, formless. Servant of Morgoth.
Wow. Ending the game with a score of 20 out of 15. Congratulations, guys.
Woohoo! We did it, Ashley.
Do we get a plaque? I want to start.
I want a trophy.
You get rings.
Wait.
Good rings. You get good rings.
Okay. Whew, like ring pops? Because those are good.
They are tasty.
Who were they made by?
Not in Mount Doom.
Oh, they're lava flavored.
Well, again, before we head out, would you guys like to plug your stuff?
Go for it, Ashley. I plugged it last time. It's your turn.
Okay. We are the Sisters of the Shire podcast. We are available on all platforms. Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We are on Instagram at the Sisters of the Shire podcast. We are 2 cousins who love to talk about all works of Tolkien and try and relate it in a way and tell the story of the Silmarillion and relate it in a way that is easy to understand, that anyone can keep up with, and just loving on Tolkien's work and trying to spread the love.
And trying to make it fun.
And again, what you guys do so well, I mean, again, in the episodes I listened to, you went into explaining a lot of things that I was unaware of, but also talking about, again, I know this is coming out pretty close to Christmas, but we're recording this the day after Halloween here, and how, again, I think someone said they almost lost their kids in a pumpkin patch, or they said, are we going to live here now? And I got a kick out of that.
That was my daughter. Update, we made it out of the corn maze. We're here. We lived.
I still don't know if they're alive. Abby is alive. We have no proof of life of the children.
Still haven't had that confirmation, huh?
Yes. I took home pumpkins, but I don't know about my kids.
And again, links to everything they do are in the show notes, so be sure to check them out there. At this point, again, please rate, subscribe, tell a friend, and submit your own trivia. And again, that's a wrap for Lord of the Rings Hobbit Trivia. Ashley and Abby, thank you guys so much for being my ending guests for this round of trivia.
Oh my gosh, this was so fun. I loved it.
Fun.
I will be a guest on your podcast anytime you ask me.
Anytime.
It was great.
Guys, I really appreciate it. It means a lot.
And we like lots of random things.
Yes.
Just try us.
And also, like we said, you have the most amazing podcaster voice. So if we could just sit and listen to that.
And you're so well organized.
I know.
It's like, just schedule a date here and you push this button here and you're good to go.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Amazing.
What?
I appreciate it, guys.
So easy.
You know, it took a lot of reformatting, editing at the beginning there, but I'm very happy with the system I have now. I'm just trying to make it as easy as I can to get guests if I'm trying to format my show with new guests every episode, you know?
Awesome.
Well, you are accomplishing that mission, sir. Mission accomplished.
Yes.
Gold star for you.
Thank you. Listeners, thank you as well. And stay tuned for more trivia.